Hi, I'm Jonah Bryant, 19-year-old squash player based out of England. I first saw a squash racket from quite a young age. My dad used to play squash to quite a good level, and he used to play the junior England circuit, then he was semi-professional in Europe and stuff before he became a pilot. So he was always playing and stuff from when I was a young age. So yeah, there's always been squash in the house. I started playing tennis first from the age of about 5. I used to go around the country playing tennis tournaments. So I wasn't amazing, I was decent. I was invited to a few of the national squads and stuff, but where I'm from, Brighton in England, there was a Coral Squash Club, which it just had a great environment. There was a lot of there's a lot of my mates, they're still my good mates today and stuff, and there was about 8 of us, and you just turn up, mess around all day, play squash, and ended up being all right at it. And every time I went to play tennis, I wanted to play squash. So from the age of about 9, when I started, I was playing tennis and squash for a year. And then I stopped playing tennis at the age of 10 and just to play squash, basically.
And how many years after that did you win your first British Junior Open?
3 years after that, yeah, I was 12. But I obviously had a lot of practice with a racket, playing tennis and stuff, which maybe translated a bit, but yeah, 3 years of squash. Well, obviously there's so many good players at the time, particularly with Nick and James. Just always just thought Nick was such a winner, and that kind of inspired me. Just that mentality of he wasn't necessarily the best out of all of them, but he always found a way to win. I found that from a young age quite inspiring. I probably watched Shot of the Year 2015 100 times. I'd probably tell you every shot now, even. So yeah, I was watching. I just got totally addicted to the game, and when I started playing at Corals, there was Jazz Hutton and Tom Walsh. They were older and they were there, so I was like a little kid, didn't have any idea. Yeah, well, it was actually, I thought it was a really nice environment playing tournaments compared to tennis. It was tennis, the parents and stuff are a nightmare. It's quite a toxic environment. But the squash, you made a lot of friends. The parents were a lot more friendly. And then also I had people like Sam Todd, who were 2 years older, kind of paving the way. I remember he won the British Junior Open 2 years before I did. And I remember I was 10, I didn't have a national ranking at the time. I thought, yeah, no, I want to do that in 2 years, which was obviously quite optimistic at the time, but it was definitely, seeing other people go and do it, I just thought, well, why not? It was more recently properly, so my dad actually coached me and I had a bit with Ben Hutton as well, and Jazz Hutton's dad. He was the coach at Corals, so every group session, it was more, he was managing our behaviour and stuff, but Ben was great. He just created such a great atmosphere for the kids. Everyone just loved being there, and that was the main thing. And yeah, he's also got a good insight of the game. But yeah, it was mainly my dad until the age of 16ish. I first went and saw Rob when I was about 11 for a week, and so I had a bit of contact with him then. But it was properly when I was 16. He reached out, I went up, stayed with him for a weekend, and then ever since then, I spent more time in West Warwick than I have at home. So. I think it was a decision that came from me. I think I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good enough at squash to do both, study and play full-time. My time management's shocking, organisation, everything. And anyone that knows me can tell you that. So I've really, I can't split my time 50-50. It'd have to be 100% all in to one thing. And, for what I want to achieve in squash, from the position I'm in, I've got to put all my eggs in one basket. So it was a case of I was in Brighton. There wasn't much squash down there, so I finished college basically just about, and then I just moved up. Yeah, I didn't just kind of sent it and see how it goes. Basically, that was the thought process. Yeah, no, of course, I want to be the best in England. I want to be the best in the world one day. So yeah, I hate losing at anything. So obviously the goal is to be the best in all areas, but it's not going to be easy. There's a long way to go, a lot to learn. There's going to be plenty more failures before I get there. So I've just got to keep plugging away basically and see where I end up. Yeah. Well, as like everyone, you play the different players and they've all got different attributes that are just exceptional. Like Gawad was, you feel like there's some spaces to get points and stuff, but he'll really turn it on. And when he turns it on, you think like, this is just some of the stuff he's doing with the ball. You can see it outside, but you can't appreciate it until you're actually on there with him. And then Farag was just a different, like, constant barrage of pressure. Like, you just won't understand how hard it is playing him until you actually go on and do it. And I love that challenge because I've got to figure out a way to beat this bloke, which is going to be tough and it's going to take time, a lot of work, a lot of improvements in my quality of squash and physicality and stuff. But yeah, everyone's, you learn something new from playing all the top guys. So. Yeah, well, obviously, I want to be ranked as high as I can as soon as possible, but I don't really put any time goals on where I want my ranking to be. It's more about the level I'm playing, to be honest. I want to start clocking up wins regularly against these top 20 guys. I want to start, I've troubled a few of the guys close to 10 and stuff, so hopefully convert some of those wins sooner than later, and then just try and get as close to the top boys as possible at the moment. But it's more a focus on the level I'm playing rather than the ranking.